Hey there, I'm Jonathan with Getting Games, and today I'll be introducing you to Resurgence. Now, this is going to be a high-level overview of the game, showing the theme and mechanics, but it is not going to be a comprehensive tutorial. Now, if you enjoy this video, I would like to ask that you please click the like button for it down below, as well as the subscribe button for the channel. Also, if you have thoughts about this game while you're watching it, then please leave a comment down below. All right, let's jump into the game. Welcome to the post-apocalyptic world of Resurgence. This is set in an alternate version of the 20th century where the world's worst nuclear fears came to pass, and in this game, humanity struggles to survive this wasteland. The only way to succeed is to regroup and rebuild, with each player in control of groups of people that are working together. Now, resources and opportunities are scarce, and in this competitive game, each player is in control of these groups, trying to do the best for their people as we live in this wasteland. Now, the game takes place over 6 rounds, and within each round, players are going to go through 4 steps, which involve drawing and assigning our survivors from our bags, then vying on leadership tracks, after that, utilizing our survivors, and then upkeep. The first thing that we do is draw and assign those survivors, and this is done simultaneously and secretly. Now, each player has a bag, and within it, they have their survivor tokens, which shows the people that are in their group, and everyone draws a number of survivors depending on the level of their compound. At the start of the game, at level 1, we all draw 4 survivors, but as we upgrade our compound, we could draw as many as 6 survivor tokens out of the bag. After this, we will assign each of these survivors onto our assignment board that is hidden by this large player shield, which also acts as a highly informative player aid. Each survivor must be placed onto one of the 3 assignment areas, and the location where these survivors go will dictate the actions we can perform with them later in the round. Now, within our group of survivors, we have numerous laborers. We also gain specialists throughout the game, and we all have 1 leader. In this case, let's say we put the leader here in the harbor area, then our ranger and a laborer into the metro area, and finally, a laborer over here in the compound. You could put any number of these survivors into each of these assignment zones. Once everyone has simultaneously made these decisions, we will remove our screens, revealing our assignments, and then we'll check to see which players showed the most leadership in each of the different areas. We do this by counting up each player's leadership value for each of the 3 assignment areas in order. For example, if we were checking the metro assignment areas, we would have a leadership value of 3 because each laborer adds 1, each specialist adds 2, no matter which of the specialist types you've put in. And it's worth noting our leader adds 3, and again, all of this can be found on our player aid. So we would have 3 leadership, blue has 1, and green has 2. Then the player or players with the highest leadership value in that specific assignment area will advance once on that leadership track. If while advancing you hit an icon, you get the benefit that is described, and at the end of the game, we'll get points depending on how far along we are compared to our opponents on each of these tracks. Once we've checked leadership for the metro, harbor, and compound assignment areas, it is then time for worker actions. Starting with the player with the starting player token, each player will perform an action with one of their survivors, and will go around until every survivor has been used. The way this works is we select a survivor, and then we must place them into an area that matches their assignment zone. In this case, our ranger must go into a metro area. When we look at the map, you can see there are metro areas and harbor areas, so we can place the survivor onto any metro area that does not have one of our survivors already. For example, we could go here, and then we'll gain the indicated benefit as long as we are allowed to place the survivor there based off of these icons. As you can see, if a ranger is placed here, we'll get 3 food, but we could not place a laborer here because that icon does not show up down below. That being said, our leaders count as any specialists, so we could put our leader there instead, as long, of course, as our leader was assigned to the metro area. Now, we are not alone in this wasteland, because of course our opponents will be placing their survivors out, and there are mutants that are also sharing these spaces. Each round we are going to draw mutant cards, which may or may not add mutants to the board, and whenever you place a token into a spot that has other tokens in it, you have to spend 1 resource or critical supply for each. This includes mutants as well. For example, if it looked like this and we placed here, there are 2 tokens there already, so we'd have to give up 2 resources or critical supplies of our choice. Now we track these resources and critical supplies on our compound board. The critical supplies are ammo and medication, and then we have the resources of parts, fuel, and food. Now, there is a wide variety of action options available to us. Many of them give us specific resources. while others do things like let us plan missions. They can be found over here with basic missions and advanced missions, and when you plan a mission, you draw it from the board and place it above your compound. Now, in addition to placing a survivor out on the board and activating them on your turn, you can also complete missions if you match the requirement. For example, this foraging party can be completed if you sent your survivor to a Hope Island location. You will have to spend 2 additional food, but then you will gain 1 point and complete that mission, which is then placed underneath your board, and this will enable ongoing resources during upkeep. Another option is we could rescue a new survivor. These can be found at the top of the board, and you spend the indicated amount of food, then take their card, then add a matching specialist token from your supply into your bag. This shows that the specialist is within your group, and the specialist card can be played to the side. Now, each player begins with a leader, and during each survivor placement turn, you can activate these cards as long as their condition is applicable. For example, the Olympian leader here says if we go to a metro area, we can then gain 1 parts or 1 food. Then we will tilt them to the side to show that we have used them this round. Now, I've mentioned the metro and harbor areas, but we also have a compound assignment area. This lets you assign a token to your compound, although it must go into an empty and built location. At the start of the game, we only have the checkpoint. Once you place down, you get the benefits shown. Now, we can build new parts to our compound by activating the build action, which will cost parts. And once built, you will gain a random reward, and then that room is available, so you can place tokens there to activate it for the rest of the game. Once all survivor tokens have been placed, we move into the 4th and final step of the turn, which is upkeep, and we start this by taking all of our tokens from the main map, as well as our compound, and you place all of these into your rest area. Now, putting tokens over here is important because during future rounds, whenever you don't have enough tokens from your bag to place into the assignment area, you will then take these tokens from your rest area and put them back into your bag. So as you are rescuing new survivors, you are building up your group of people that are going to be working together throughout the game. Then we'll gain income for our completed missions. For example, this foraging party will let us take 1 fuel or 1 food. So completing missions gives us extra flexibility and resources as the game continues. And then we have the option of upgrading our compound level. We do this if we spend specific resources and are at specific thresholds on our critical supplies. And this will unlock new rooms that can be built in the future, and also lets you draw more survivors during the draw and assign step, and gets you more points at the end of the game, including unlocking advanced missions, as well as the endgame directive cards. Those can be found up here, and speaking of these, once we proceed through 6 rounds in the game, we'll move into final scoring, where we will gain points depending on how far we are on these tracks compared to our opponents, depending also on the conditions that we've met on these directive cards, as long as we've upgraded our compound to the 3rd or 4th level, and we'll get points for our specific compound level, our leftover resources, and our leftover critical supplies. Then the player with the most victory points will win the game. Now, I do want to briefly point out that this game has a solo mode. Instead of using these event cards, you will use these solo cards, and they are going to increase the leadership value of a non-player character, depending on the leadership values of your assignments. And during the action round, when you reveal mutants, as they enter areas, they will activate various effects that are going to make it even more challenging for you as the solo player. The goal of the solo mode is to get more points than your non-player opponent, and for the most part, the rest of the gameplay remains the same. Well, that's going to bring my video to a close, and I hope you've enjoyed being introduced to Resurgence. As always, I'd like to thank everyone who's been supporting this channel, including these producer-level Patreon supporters. If you too would like to directly support the channel and the creation of future videos like this one, then please go to jongetsgames.com/support. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button for it down below, as well as the subscribe button for the channel. Thanks for watching.